All right, guys. I am efficient. Okay? We'll talk about that later. Literal equations. Okay, literal equations. You see a bunch of stuff up here, and you don't see a whole lot of numbers, do you? In fact, you don't see any numbers because you can't see number 4. I'm going to put number 4 over here. Number 4 is important as well. It's area of a circle. So A equals pi r squared. Okay. A literal equations. Equations that are filled with variables, and they are fun. They are fun because they're challenging. Now, can you solve for them? Not unless I give you some numbers, right? So they're not solvable unless I give you numbers. However, I'm going to tell you that I want you to solve for a different variable. So for instance, for number 1, the answer is solved for r, because r is by itself on the equal sign. Remember those words that I'm saying, right? So let's say I want to solve for b. So I got to move some stuff around, which means if I want to solve for b, it means I got to have b all by itself on one side of the equal sign, just like the r was. So I can move things around just like we did with the equations from the previous 2 videos or so. Now, if I want to get b by itself here, there's some things on this side of the equal sign that I have to get rid of first. There's an a times an x. Now, I can move that as a term. Technically speaking, x is my variable, which means a is my, it's my coefficient. Good. Constant term, okay? I want to get rid of this ax. So if that's a positive ax, which it is, because it doesn't have a negative sign, I'm going to subtract ax on both sides. Okay? That cancels ax on this side of the equal sign. So let's rewrite what we have. We have a negative b equals r minus ax. Because obviously I can't subtract them because that doesn't make any sense. They're just letters, right? Now we're almost at our goal. B's almost by itself, but there's a negative there. So technically speaking, that's not by itself because that's a negative 1, right? Negative 1b. So I have to now divide by negative 1 on both sides. Okay? I kind of didn't want to do that. Let's do this because this helps out students a little bit better. Let's do a negative 1 here and a negative 1 here. Okay, now that cancels the negative sign. Okay, so this is going to be b equals, and now r divided by negative 1 gives me a negative r. And negative ax divided by negative 1 gives me a positive ax. Now we've solved for b. This is my answer. b equals negative r plus ax. Okay, good. Let's try some more. Okay, let's try some more. You might want to write that down somewhere because I'm going to erase it now. Whoa! Not too much notice. Okay. D equals MV, not the DMV, not like the place where grown-ups take their cars because it's really an annoying place. But what is this? This is one of the science ones, right? Density equals mass times volume. Threw some science in there, STEM. Okay, good. It's solved for what? It's solved for D, right? So density here. Let's say I want to solve for I don't know, mass. Okay, so M. So M times V, right? So if it's M times V, if I want to get rid of the V because I want to keep M by itself, I've got to divide by V on both sides. Okay, and I know Dr. Groner's got it, and I'm sure the other science teachers have it too. You have that little triangle thing. The triangle thing's okay, but I prefer kind of the deal on this, right? So that separates that. Now I'm left with M equals D over V, and that should be exactly what is on your triangle. So we solved for M. You know what? Let's take another step. Let's solve for V. Okay, we're going to do the same thing here. So to solve for V, it means I got to get V by itself, which means I'm going to divide by M on both sides. Okay, so now I've got V equals D over M. Hopefully that makes sense to you. Now I've got all 3 things here. Now let's just make sure this is working. I'm going to just think of some numbers for you. Some pretty simple numbers. So let's say D is 10, M is 5, and V is 2. That's obviously a true statement, right? So let's plug in these numbers elsewhere to make sure they're right. So M was 5, right? D was 10, and V was 2. Well, that's also a true statement, isn't it? 10 divided by 2 is 5. Let's try it over here. So V is 2 in this instance. D is still 10, and M is still 5. Oh, I was going to write M. I tricked you. Again, a true statement. 10 divided by 5 is 2. So this proves, these numbers that we made up proves that these 3 literal equations are true. They're just in different orders because they're solved for different variables. You're going to see this a ton when we start talking about slope, when we start talking about systems of equations. You need to be able to manipulate the equation to make it sound something that's going to be a lot easier for you to work with. Well, last one here, and then I'll have you do that one on your own. Area equals length times width, right? Okay, so it's real simple to this one. Let's say I wanted to solve for width. It means I'm going to divide by L on both sides, which means width is going to equal area divided by, and I like that L. That's L is actually what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a cursive L. Okay, similar situations to that. Your challenge for yourself tonight, try 4, and I want you to solve for R. Solve for R. Okay, super challenging because that's a square. Okay, do the best you can. Try it out. We'll talk about it another day. See you later.